Hello, and we're here for Held in Evidence. I'm Ethel Richard. It's nice to have you here tonight. Um, this is our first show of a series, which is called Held in Evidence for the Barbara Sherman Miracle. And we have a guest with us tonight that's actually going to become probably, I would say, if he keeps his word, a little bit of a person to hang out a little more often than once. He's my good friend, very nice man and very intelligent. I've been involved in fighting psychiatry, for a long time, and I can't say enough good about him because he does a great job. John, you might want to step in now. John Breeding is here with us tonight. How are you? How you doing tonight, John? Where are you calling from?
I'm good, Ethel. I'm in Austin, Texas, and I'm happy to be here. And yes, I do promise to come back and do a longer show next time. But I'm in Austin, Texas. I've been a psychologist for a long time, and I've been involved. When I became a psychologist, I discovered pretty early on that I was not only dealing with counseling people in support of life issues or healing from trauma or whatever, but I discovered that a large percentage of people were also dealing with having been hurt by psychiatry itself in previous experiences of either reaching out for help or being forced into help. And so I discovered that part of my work had to be involved challenging my own profession, the mental health system profession. And so I've been doing that for a long time. And of course, that's how you and I connected.
Right. And I'm very appreciative that we did connect. John is he's taken part, in a book which I began a number of years ago. To think that I should, in fact, write a book about my particular life experience, which started so far back, and I don't want to go into the whole thing here, and we've only got a half an hour. But suffice to say that it took 4 books to write this story, because it spans over many decades. And it all started when I was a teenager, just about 14 years old, that was in a whole lot of trouble and ended up in a mental institution. And John and I connected because he and I, how do you put this way? I have a political background from many years ago, and I became a little bit of a historic figure when I ran for president during 1984 during the New Hampshire primaries. And it was a very interesting experience. But Senator Lou D'Alessandro, who I like to think of as a friend of mine, I did a radio show with him way back then during the primaries. He recommended my life story to the historic societies. And I had such an unusual background that it became pretty apparent to me that I should come forward with it and try to help some other people, and children especially, because the things that happened to me when I was a child were kind of absurd. They were really something that wasn't very nice, and they involved psychiatry. And so I got in touch with John, and and he and I became friends, and he is becoming involved in many ways. And one of the ways that he's involved is that I have put one of his wonderful, essays, chapters which he wrote on electric shock within my book, my first book. There's 4 in the series. And so John and I are kind of co-authoring this book in an odd way. Right. Well, and I want to mention that because he was such a fantastic, and he is a fantastic person to do that with me. And I'm hoping that the book, I'm hoping it will become well-known knowledge throughout America and the world, that children should not be being attacked, which is what that's what's being done to them by psychiatry. Kids and the elderly and so many persons that are citizens, right, in our country and all over the world are actually being so severely abused by psychiatry that their lives are completely destroyed. Right?
Well,
And so this is a major issue, okay? And and I wanted to be a part in stopping that. If it's ever going to be possible to stop it, people have to really stand up, okay, for those who are being abused. Psychiatry isn't going to do it, and our government certainly doesn't seem to really care one way or the other. John, I know I'm just talking and talking, but it's your turn.
Well, you really are a part of the effort to prevent this from happening to other people, but you're also a really painful and inspiring at the same time example of someone who, as a young person, suffered a lot of trauma, and then, rather than psychiatry really offering help to heal, they served the function of basically shutting you up, and supporting. Part of your story is that the community wanted to shut you up too because you were speaking out about some things that were happening in the community, and you were also exposing some sordid activities, including what was done to you. And so basically, you suffered the triple whammy of psychiatric oppression, in the sense of, one, being locked up forcibly against your will, two, given drugs that basically suppress and obliterate your consciousness. And then on top of that, even as a young person, even as a minor, you were assaulted with massive charges of electricity into your brain called electroshock, and somehow you survived that and came out reeling, and managed to recover with several decades now of dramatic life experience and raising children and grandchildren, and so you're in a position of kind of being able to tell this from a place of power and providing a model and inspiration for people to do it. But the story is hopeful in the sense of your recovery, but it also is very revealing. And the tragedy is that for everyone like yourself who does manage to reemerge and talk about it, there's a lot of others who don't.
Yeah, I think that's the shame of the whole situation, is that so many people have been so severely damaged, and my heart breaks for them, and that's why I'm out here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the fact that I'm a very stubborn woman, and I refuse to give up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People get hurt, they get traumatized, they experience losses, and the problem is that psychiatry interprets that as mental illness and calls it a brain disease or whatever, rather than dealing with the real problem. And then they throw out these heavy-duty so-called treatments that actually cause a lot more harm than good. Specifically the drugs, which are brain disabling and toxic, and then of course electroshock, which is brain damaging and horrific, and has no excuse in the world of being called medicine practice, but it still goes on with psychiatry.
That was going to be my next question to you, because it does still go on. ECT, electroconvulsive therapy, it's a terrible sham. We have so many people that have been told that they have a chemical imbalance, okay, in their brains, that they need to receive some very, very dangerous psychotropic drugs that do nothing but create addiction in them, and if they try to come off the drugs, then they will show the same symptoms that is so-called, the psychotic, that psychiatry says they need the drugs for. So the drugs create the problem. Yeah, and instead of solving, the emotional issues that are going on within a person. And
that's right.
the issue, too, with the electric shock, I mean, the things that they're doing today when they're telling folks that, look, it's safe, okay, it's effective, it's all a sham. It's not any bit effective. Back in the day when I received electric shock, it was terrifying. Not that right after the shock that I could remember the shock, but my whole life became one big terror because I could not function. Everything was a chore. Everything I couldn't understand. I couldn't remember things. And I was terrified all the time and didn't know why was I so terrified, right? And and that's one of the very symptoms, okay, of receiving electric shock, that the psychiatrist is not going to tell you that is the looked for effect. They want you to forget things and they want to make you scared so that you'll listen to them and you'll take it, you'll agree with everything they say. And while you're under that pressure, that's what you do, And once you're off that so-called therapy, if you've had a little too much of it like I did, what happens is that you become a complete mishmash. You're like you have no, I hate to use the word, your cognitive ability totally fails in the sense that you are not able to comprehend the difference between what is, your past, your future, where are you right now in life? Is there any right? Is there any wrong? Should I do this? Should I do that? You don't know. You're just existing because your brain is so completely messed up, right? And you're frightened all the time. And that's the thing people don't understand. And nowadays, when they put you on these shock treatments, they tell you that they're going to give you a sedative of some kind, and it'll relax, your muscles, and your body won't go into the convulsion that the shocks would cause. And because of that fact that they're able to subdue the body, they can apply even stronger electric shocks. All right, the voltage is higher, and that causes more brain damage because even if your body is just laying there like it's unconscious, because you're sedated, right, with an anesthesia of some kind, it doesn't mean that your brain is not still being fried, right? Exactly. And that's exactly what's happening, and it's destroying things, okay? John talks about, the blood-brain barrier, and, there are certain issues inside of the head, okay? There are parts, okay, inside the skull that are very severely damaged by electric shock. And when we make sure in our fields of construction and whatnot, okay, where these people have to be licensed. I mean, I've got an electrician, he comes to my house, and he fixes my little gadgets and things and puts new, wiring in the ceiling and this and that, and the first thing he does is turn off the electricity. And why is that? Well, because the law says you can't take a chance. If you get an electric shock, you're going to be in trouble. Right? Right? But they're doing this to people, and they're calling it something that is a healthy therapy, and they're actually just destroying you, right? And that's why people like me, there have to be more people like me that are going to actually stand up, if they can regain their senses. The only reason why I came back to mine, and it took me over 23 years to start, just to begin getting my memory back. It took me over 23 years, and it was really tough the whole time, right? And it didn't come back all at once. It never does, right? But, and I did have, I'm not going to say I didn't have little bits and pieces here or there, okay, but it would be stuff that would come out in a dream and a nightmare, okay, that, stuff that you wouldn't want to even remember, and just little bits and pieces occasionally, okay, over 23 years, and always being afraid and not knowing what is it, why am I so upset all the time? Why can't I be happy? And then to come out of it. Okay, now I didn't have electric shock as a maintenance therapy, okay, in all that time. Once I was out of the hospital the second time, because I was put in twice, the first time I couldn't remember that I had even been in there, okay, and I had been in there for 15 months. That's a long time to lose, okay. I didn't know I'd been in there. And the second time I was put in there after I had gone to California 3 times when I was 15, which is a fact. And, I'll put the invitation out right now. Bobby Sherman, and Ward Sylvester, I've been trying to tell you this for years, okay, and it's a little bit tricky. I know it's hard on you guys, because I did go and visit Bobby, or attempt to visit Bobby, after we talked in '94, and he misunderstood what was going on, and I had been kind of like overreacting, okay, to what was happening to me, and I got into a little bit of mischief and writing a lot of letters and trying to explain what was going on. And of course, Bob probably got very spooked because I called them reports, okay, having dealt with what happened to me when I was a kid. But the fact is, I had gone to California when all this junk happened. I was released from the hospital. I was 15 years old. I was attacked by persons on the outside, and I was a little girl. I was only 15. I think of it as a little girl, and I wanted to get away from all those bad folks that were hurting me, and I also wanted to meet Bobby Sherman, because I read some great things about him in a magazine or two. I said he must be a real nice guy, and I think if ever I want to meet somebody, I think I want to meet him. So God willing, it'll happen, and it did. And and unfortunately, I was in such a situation that I did go back. I was taken into custody the first time at the ranch, at Columbia Screen Gems Ranch. I don't know if it was May. It might have been, no, I think it was probably early June. He was just starting, first day of his new show, Getting Together. We did meet. We spent the whole day together with a bunch of other people, because there were other people there. And, and I was on the sets, and we were getting along fine. And I was taken into custody out there, and then I did, go back. And to make a very long story short, I went back to visit with Bobby 3 separate times from New Hampshire, hitchhiking, okay? Because once I had met him and I liked him, and he seemed to like me, and, he was kind and sweet and nice and saying, "Kiss me, baby." I said, okay, I'm going back. I like him, but it didn't change a thing of the fact that, I had been in the hospital and I couldn't remember, and all these things were going on, and my mind was not thinking logically, all right, and so therefore, I did those things, so all of that happened, and you guys, Bobby and Ward, hopefully we can, straighten everything out here somehow, and you're invited to be on the show. Okay, if you would like. Okay, I know you're watching, Ward. I believe it. Okay, So anyway, I mean, it's always been a case of, you've got to have your heart and what you want in life, in the right place. You have to be thinking about others, and sometimes we make mistakes. Everybody does. We all do things, okay? But the important thing is that, you learn and you grow in life, and you try to help others if you can. And so that's why I'm here, okay? And that's what the Held in Evidence series, okay, is all about. It does talk about my life history, but it's also a project that's meant to, at some point, bring to the kids, okay, in the schools, help to fight against gang violence. Right? This is a very serious issue. You talk about kids getting hurt on the internet, bullying and all that stuff. Well, if the people don't, stand up and really want to do something about it, and take a chance, right, and nothing gets done, right? And you can use the excuse that, oh, kids will always do this junk, but that is just an excuse. Okay, because you can make an effort that will do something. And my good friend Richard Young, okay, who runs the Pure Works Foundation. I known him from way back then because I ran off to Tucson, California. Tucson, Arizona before I ran off to to Bobby in Burbank. Yeah,
You're
that's what I
always
did.
brave and adventurous.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know. Stubborn, probably. I don't know because like I said, my mind was so, you wouldn't believe the kind of mess, okay,
All
that it
those
was in.
drugs and then the electroshock. I mean, it
Right,
just
because they
really
had
does. Yeah.
they had put me on anything too nice. I mean, they had me on Mellaril in the hospital, and they had me on Thorazine, and those two drugs just by themselves, without electric shock, are enough to really turn you into a vegetable.
They
It was
really are.
terrible.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, I'm done talking there for a minute. Okay, I just want to
Okay.
make sure everybody knows that there's a focus, that we'd like to start some programs across America to help kids in schools to learn better how to cope. All right, that are put in situations of bullying and in gang violence. Okay, to stop gang violence in the cities, in the inner cities, and to get people to really focus on these issues. Right?
What
Which
what
is
do you
really
what do you
important.
what do you mainly have to say to these young people from your own experience?
Oh God, do everything you can to protect yourself right at home. All right,
Mm,
now,
mm,
if you don't have anyone, okay, in your family that's listening to you,
mm,
if you're having problems, okay, at school, not because you're dumb, but because you've had enough, which is what happened to me.
mm,
I said,
mm,
no, I get good grades, but nobody's listening to me, so why should I be here?
mm, mm,
Um, yeah, and that's before I went in the hospital. I did. I had good grades. Okay, average,
mm,
B to A, average.
mm,
Okay, fourth, fifth grade, sixth grade,
mm,
and then that mess happened.
mm.
So uh, I think the kids, okay, need to realize that they have to try to find help at home. All right. I don't suggest that they go to anyone who's going to send them to a psychiatrist, all right, or anyone that's going to try to get them to take drugs. No, right? Uh, it's a really tough situation. I don't wish it on anybody. Okay, some kids may still run. Right? I did. Okay,
Mhm.
um, but I wish
How
it
did
never
you how did
happened.
you so you really talked about something that's so important for people, which is fear and terror, and how the people who were supposed to help you actually assaulted you and created more and more terror by incarcerating you, and especially by drugging you, and then especially by electroshock, which is just so terrifying. How did you? What's the key to your kind of gradually recovering from all that terror and becoming bold and outspoken again? Is it just a
Well,
matter of finding safety and gradually healing, or what?
hmm, I think a big a big part of it. Okay, I've always been, a person to be. I don't like the word religious. Okay, because
Spiritually?
there are, well, because there are persons that are, they're into the outward form of religion. Spiritually minded. Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
believe in personal growth,
Mm-hmm.
and really making every effort you can
Mm-hmm.
to live in a way that is constructive. And I've read so many books, and
Mm-hmm.
so you know uh, I guess the biggest thing in my case, okay, would have to be that, and the fact that I did not have the so-called ongoing therapies, because my mom, when I got out of the hospital the second time,
Yeah.
she didn't care if I took those drugs. She didn't want me taking them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't getting electric shock treatments anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But what resulted was that I spent a number of years having all kinds of crazy things happen. I had blackouts and, flashbacks and terror episodes and nightmares and all kinds of awful things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was just time for my, whatever went on wrong in here,
Mm-hmm.
okay, to heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and it's just that kind of a situation. Once you have received that kind of damage, it's like there's no going back.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I am really blessed that I got my memory back. No matter how terrible my memories are, I have them. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Right, there were other things I lost. Okay, for instance, I had tardive dyskinesia. I did.
Mm-hmm.
Which it's not that easy to tell anymore. At least I don't think so. I hope not. But when I get out of the hospital the second time, oh man, it was bad. I had a squint that involved my nose and my lips and my hands and my arms, and I was just all over the place.
Neurological damage from the drugs.
Right, and so that was one thing that happened. I still occasionally, especially if I haven't gotten enough sleep, I'll have a seizure. I wasn't born with a seizure disability. That was, that was brought on to me.
I've known at least 2 other people that have seizure disorders as a result of the electroshock. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that's been an issue, and I don't know where I got, I can't prove certain other things. Okay, I'm diabetic, but my mother was diabetic, so I can't prove that was caused from anything that happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that I do have these things I still try to work on, and I am blind. John, don't let us lose track of time. I can't see the clock. I'm legally blind.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great.
My eyes don't see well. I don't believe in dark glasses. Yeah.
I've got to go in about 3 minutes.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Well, John, see, you got me talking too much.
No, you're making a lot of really good points. And I was really interested in hearing the part about kind of how you can recover after trauma like that, and so it's kind of being spiritually oriented, being willing to grow, reading a lot, but especially just having time, in which you are allowed to be in life without having further damaging treatments, without, if you'd have been taking those drugs for another 20 years, you probably wouldn't be here today, writing your book and doing a show and being an activist and a speaker the way you are now. Yeah.
That is really true. People need to keep their kids, keep their families, okay, those whom you love, away from psychiatry.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I know a few people that have come off the drugs that are given to them by psychiatry, and it's very tough. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
It takes a while to get off those drugs. Don't ever let anyone give you electric shock treatments, not under any circumstances. There's other ways, okay, that you can work through your problems. You don't need to have all this garbage done to you. It's clear abuse. It's terrible abuse.
That's right.
Okay, John. Now, okay, I'm going to let you close out our show tonight.
All right. Well, I think, Held in Evidence is a great title for your book and your story, and I know why it's called the subtitle, The Bobby Sherman Miracle. I personally...
It's only the first book. It's only the first book.
I prefer to think of it as the Ethel Richard miracle myself, but I definitely am proud of you for that, and definitely happy to be your ally. I think you made a lot of really good points about, just one, avoiding electroshock, not putting yourself and people you love on long-term psychiatric drug use, finding safe people and safe support, allowing people to have a life, even if it's topsy-turvy for a while. You still learn and grow and eventually mature and become your own person. So it's been a pleasure. I got to go now, but
okay, John.
Keep up the good
God
work,
bless
and
you.
we'll be in touch. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, have a good one.
All right.
Good night, everyone. Good night, John. It's really nice to be with you. Nice of everyone to tune in to us, and everybody have a great week. Until next time. And we're going to tell you, if you come to our pages, okay, I can't tell you today, but we'll tell you what we're doing next week, all right, very soon, okay? Thank you, and good night.